Hello and welcome to Autism Education with Dr. Jake. Recently, there's been a lot of talk on social media about autism. You may have heard someone on social media talking about being autistic and being sensitive to certain types of clothing. This may have caused you to think, I'm sensitive to certain types of clothing. Do I have autism? Or maybe your friend talked about her son who was recently diagnosed with autism and he walks on his tippy toes. You may have thought, my son walks on his tippy toes. Does he have autism also? Many people in this world do have autism, and it affects nearly everything they do. And what I've seen is a lot of confusion about autism. So my goal is to provide accurate information about autism. As I said before, my name is Dr. Jake, and I feel like I'm in a great position to educate people about autism. There's 3 reasons I believe this to be the case. Number 1, I'm a pediatrician, and a lot of kids I see in the clinic have autism. Number 2, I've done a lot of education and research about autism. And number 3, I am close to many individuals who do have autism. When you hear the word autism, you might think of people that have strange behaviors, odd speech, or eye contact avoidance. Maybe somebody like Sheldon from the TV show Big Bang Theory, or Raymond from the movie Rain Man. But the fact is, many people with autism do not fit this stereotypical picture of autism. And believe it or not, many people with autism don't even know that they have autism. The full medical term for autism is autism spectrum disorder. During this video and in the future, I will use the terms autism, autistic, and autism spectrum disorder interchangeably. There are disagreements even amongst those who have autism of how they want to be classified. I'll probably use the term autism most often in my videos. An autistic person's brain is wired differently than the general population. Our brain is a command sender and affects everything we do. Because an autistic person's brain is wired differently, they process, respond to, and experience the world different than someone who doesn't have autism. These brain wiring differences vary from one person to the next. That's why it's called autism spectrum disorder. There's a wide range of how this presents, and there are endless variations to autism. Unknown to many people, those with autism have both weaknesses and strengths. They can have quite a bit of strengths, actually. However, in this video, I will focus on the weaknesses, because the weaknesses define if a person does or does not have autism. The weaknesses associated with autism will generally fall into one of the following 2 categories: social and communication challenges, or behaviors. This is where the diagnostic criteria comes into play, and I will talk a lot more about the diagnostic criteria in future videos. So, how common is autism? The World Health Organization has estimated that 1 in 100 children throughout the world have autism. In 2020, the CDC concluded that 1 in 36 children in the US has a diagnosis of autism. That comes out to roughly 3% of the population. But just to give a comparison, in the year 2000, there was 1 in 150 children in the US that had a diagnosis of autism. So that number has quadrupled in 20 years. And I believe there are many people in the US and throughout the world who have autism but do not have an official diagnosis yet. The natural question produced by these statistics is, why such an increase in autism? There are probably many reasons, but 2 of the top reasons are an increased awareness, and number 2, improved diagnostic criteria. The last question in my video is, what causes autism? Obviously, this question is still being investigated. One thing that seems to be certain now is that there is a genetic component to autism. The exact details of how that genetic component is passed down is still being investigated. That's it for my video. Thank you for joining, and I'll be sharing much more autism education in the future.